Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 77. One of the things about acting, it allows you to live other people's lives without having to pay the price. Robert De Niro.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my indie film hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Before I say anything else, I want to thank you all for the amazing and positive messages I got from episode 76, how to blaze your own trail in the film industry. You guys have been reaching out a lot, man, so thank you so much. Truly, truly humbled. And thank you so much for the support for the new movie I'm doing, This Is Meg, as well as all the other stuff that we're doing with that project. So thank you very, very much. Now, today's show is sponsored by Indie Film Hustle's online film school. I've gone throughout the web and have curated the best online courses for filmmaking, acting, directing, production, marketing, crowdfunding, distribution, everything you can imagine. There's a bunch of amazing stuff we have Kevin Spacey teaching you about acting and working with actors, as well as the producer of Beast of the Southern Wilds teaching you how to produce, to the screenwriter of Fight Club and him telling you his process and how he writes a screenplay. So it is an amazing, amazing resource, guys. So definitely check it out, indiefilmhustle.com/film school. And anytime you buy from any of those courses, you help Indie Film Hustle keep going, keep functioning. So you don't get charged anything else by buying a course from us. We get a commission on the sale, but it doesn't cost you another dime. So it really helps us out a lot. So thank you so much. indiefilmhustle.com/film school. Now, a lot of you have been asking me about This Is Meg and what you guys can do to help and where you can go and when are we releasing the crowdfunding. And I, again, humbled by the amazing response that we've gotten about This Is Meg. First and foremost, if you want to be part of the launch team, you can head over to indiefilmhustle.com/launch team and sign up for our private Facebook group, and we'll tell you all about what's going to be happening in the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to our crowdfunding launch to get this movie made. And of course, if you guys want to see us go through this entire process on how we make this movie, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/full access. And if you sign up for early notification, you'll get a deal and a discount on the online membership that we're going to be offering, so you can see all the behind the scenes, interact with us, talk with us, the whole ball of wax while we're going through this process of making it. So you guys can really see the nuts and bolts of what it really takes to put together a micro budget film. So indiefilmhustle.com/full access. Now, today's guest is Adrian Martinez. Adrian has been in so many movies and television shows that I've lost count. I mean, he's played against Sandra Bullock and Tom Hanks in Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. He was in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller. He was in The Amazing Spider-Man #2. He was in Inside Amy Schumer. And more recently, he co-starred with Will Smith and Margot Robbie in the movie Focus. So his resume and his IMDb page is sick. I had a chance to work with him at a workshop many years ago, and Adrian and I became friends. We went to battle together on some projects during that workshop, and as many relationships are, they are forged in the heat of battle, and that is what happened with me and Adrian. So I reached out to Adrian because I wanted him on the show to talk about what it takes not only to be a working actor in Hollywood, but what he's been able to do being himself, not trying to be anybody else but who he is. And that has been his success. It's been his secret sauce on getting work and continually getting work for better part of 2 decades, working steadily. And being a working actor in Hollywood today is something that is to be revered because it is very difficult to do so. So I wanted to bring him on and kind of talk about what it's like to just do you and be you, and how much success he's been able to obtain because of that. So it is a very eye-opening, a very just wonderful interview. And I had a ball talking to him. He's super funny. And Adrian gives one of the best answers to my famous final questions I've had anyone give me before. So definitely stay around for that last question. I think you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, here's my interview with Adrian Martinez. Adrian, man, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking out the time during the holidays.
Well, absolutely, Matt Lauer. It's been great.
It's Alex Ferrari, sir.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. That's fine.
So Adrian, man, we met, about 7 years ago?
It's always 5 years ago.
It's always just no matter what it is, it's 5 years ago?
No matter what it is. Because after that point, what's the point? Everything's about 5 years ago.
All right, so about 5 years ago, we met at Nalip, this wonderful kind of like summer camp for filmmakers.
Yes.
And you were there directing a piece called Manny, if I remember correctly.
Yes, which you can catch on YouTube.
Yes, it's actually really. I remember. I was helping you with the post production on that.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun watching that, and we had a ball. We had a lot of unique experiences during that summer camp.
Yeah, we did.
So let me ask you a question. What made you want to become an actor in the first place?
Well, it's kind of like the priesthood. I don't think you actually choose the craft. It chooses you. And for me, because it's a very hard way of making a living. And so you need to have more than just a desire to do it. It really has to be a calling, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's like social work, like people who do social work and all they do is deal with problems, problems with the system, problems with themselves, problems with the clients.
Mm-hmm.
To do that for 20 years or so, it's a calling, or like anything else. So I grew up just loving movies and obsessed with movies, and I would go to movies and just sort of like try to see the performances, and then I would ask questions like, well, why is Al Pacino making this choice? Or why didn't Gary Oldman did that? And finally, I just shut up and said, you know what, just do it yourself. And I got into it, but I really felt an absolute need to do the work, not just a desire. And I think that's what sustains you, is that need to do it.
Right, as opposed to just trying to be famous or trying to be rich, for God's sakes, all that kind of stuff.
I want to be in magazines and all this. That doesn't sustain you. What sustains you is this absolute need to do the work.
Now, I heard a rumor that you in high school actually started auditioning for Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah, that was my first job. I was actually a sprinter back then.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I just run towards restaurants, but back then I was actually really, really fast. I was a medalist in the Catholic League and all this. I think my best time was 100 yards in 10.6 seconds.
Oh, wow.
Which was, I was motoring along. I mean, I was really fast. So they had this audition. They had put up signs at my high school for some audition. And someone told me, look, they're looking for sprinters. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to really. No, all you got to do is run. They'll pay you like $600, which was scale
all right.
at that time. And I'm like, okay. And so I went, and the audition was just basically like a sprint. And so I just left everyone in the dust, and I got the job as a high school
sprinter,
alleged rapist / sprinter.
That's a great start.
Yeah.
It's a great start to the career.
Yeah, and then pretty much after that, I was just doing all kinds of day player work, and I was just doing, America's Most Wanted. I was one of the fugitives, and one of the guys that I portrayed actually got caught.
Oh, how cool!
So there's, one less guy to worry about on the street. And it just became this thing, and you just keep booking work and guest stars, and eventually you get movies and so forth.
Now you're a New York guy, right? You live in New York now?
Yeah, I'm based in New York, but I go to LA around, I'd say 15 times a year. So it's
at least once a month.
Yeah, I mean, for work or for testing or for you know, any number of things.
Got it. And there's a big difference between working in New York, I'm assuming, and working in LA. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. As an actor?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, the work is the work.
Right. The business
Crews
is
are
different.
always great. But you still have to prove yourself on either coast, you know.
Right.
You know, you never make it, is what I'm saying. It's like it's always like people thought, oh well, you know, he was in Walter Mitty and now he's Ben Stiller's sidekick and he'll get to he's set. No, he's not. He still had to go and audition for this other movie I did called Focus,
Right.
with Will Smith.
Right.
And so people thought, oh well, not now.
Now he's arrived. He's done.
Yeah.
He's done, right?
He's set. No, he's not.
So how many mansions do you own now, and how many cars, and are there crazy parties with naked women flying? That's the way it's like Entourage, right?
If only.
That's what I really try to preach, man, on Indie Film Hustle, man. Just to kind of break down that kind of. I just want people to like understand the realities of the business, and then try to make it within that reality, and not to just constantly be thrown, because we're sold this Hollywood dream. And I always tell people who don't live in LA, I like, you know where the Oscars are? I go, yeah. Okay, if you go to Hollywood Boulevard when the Oscars are not running, it's not a really nice place.
Yeah, it actually isn't.
It's like a disgusting cesspool of a place, except for maybe that one block. And even that one block, you've got those weirdos coming out dressed as Spider-Man. It's but I go, that's the perfect analogy of Hollywood. Like it's on TV, it looks insane.
Otherworldly,
yeah. It looks like, oh my God, this is, you know, the streets are paved with gold and all this stuff, and it's not the reality of what the business is like. So I was going to ask you a little bit about working, because you've worked with some insane people, some insane actors, some legends, and obviously big movie stars like Will Smith and stuff. How do you work, or can you give advice to an actor who's working with someone of that caliber for the first time? Because I can imagine it's intimidating working with on an interpreter. You worked with Sean Penn and Nicole Kidman, like that, you know. In the UN, no less. So like, how did you like walk into that first meeting with them and like work, because they're legends and, you know, they're Oscar winners and stuff. How do you work? What advice would you give to an actor like working with that caliber of performing?
I would say you have to approach it completely prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, know your lines so well that you could say them as quickly as you can count to 10. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how nervous you are, you can still count to 10 because you got that down pat. That's how well you got to know your lines. So you don't even have to worry about that on the day. And then actually, I think it's really important to just be respectful and say, I'm a great fan of your work. Looking forward to working with you. And usually, like 9 times out of 10, the stars are very, very, generous and cool. They're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Don't worry, yeah, you're gonna have a good time, or something like that.
Right.
And then, and pay real close attention to not being too chatty. You know, like if the star wants to talk, great, talk all night. But otherwise, just go over your lines, keep in mind what your objectives are, stay focused on the job at hand.
Be professional. Be professional.
Yeah, be professional. And I feel that's worked for me. If you don't try to say, hey, by the way, like between takes, listen, I wrote a script.
I think I think you would be awesome in this.
Yeah, I'm doing a remake of Three Amigos with you, Will Smith, and Ben Stiller. Why are you walking away? Hey, it's just not going to work,
Right.
It's just not the time and place. There's a protocol. There's a procedure,
Right.
And this happens, no matter where you are on the food chain, like people people Facebook me with messages about, I got this great script and you'd be great for it. I don't know who you are.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you have to just kind of work your way into the system and earn the right to work with X, Y, and Z. And so you definitely don't do this on a set unless they say, "Hey, by the way, I got nothing to do over the next 3 years. Do you have any script ideas for us?"
Which has
If they
happened.
say
How
that,
many times has that happened? It's the equivalent of a client coming to me in post
yeah,
production and going, "All I have is time and money."
yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's never happened in human history, but should it happen, then okay,
Then you could bust out that script that you've been carrying around for 5 years in the back pocket.
right.
But you might have to cut in line for the grip because the grip also has a script.
Everybody has a script in LA. It's so funny.
I was talking to Michael Haig, who's a script guru out here in LA, and I go, every time I walk into a Starbucks, there's at least 3 or 4 laptops with Final Draft open.
Yeah.
Any Starbucks anywhere in LA at any time, and if not, someone's talking about it. It's something so unique to this town. It's not like that in New York by any stretch, but here it's crazy like that.
Yeah.
Everyone has a script.
Yeah.
So what would you consider your big break in the business? Like after you got this, you're like, okay, now I can make a living doing this.
Well, it's hard for me to say because I haven't had a regular job in 15 years, but I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I mean, because my career is different from someone else's. Like John Boyega, like that's a break,
Yeah, that's you think, yeah, the little independent film he just started out in, right?
Like I don't know how the hell that happened.
Like Daisy Ridley, I think her name is
Ridley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that's a break.
That's a break.
That kind of jump starts everything a little bit, But look, and it could look.
There's different kinds of careers. There's the
Right.
career like that where you just get incredibly lucky
and you just pop,
and they find you, and you're 20 and you're set for life.
Mm-hmm.
That happens 1% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I would suggest that careers are more about building blocks and time and patience. You need to be willing to put in at least the next 10 years of your life auditioning and working towards building up credits and getting established in the casting community. And then maybe one day you get a chance to do something special. But the system has changed from when I started out in the 90s. So now I think it's more about really self-generating work. And
Right.
I tell this to people all the time that, you can literally like take your script and do it yourself on an iPhone. There's a movie called Tangerine that just got a Golden Globe nomination or an Independent Spirit Award nomination, and it was completely shot on an iPhone. It got into Sundance.
It won Sundance.
So it's not like, oh, you need anyone else's permission to make it. You can totally do it yourself. Now it has to be a great story. It has to be a unique spin on something, and you do have to do the work. But it's possible. Much more than say waiting by the phone and just wondering how come nobody gives me a break. Like forget all that. You don't need anyone's permission to work.
Not anymore.
No, you just can't use it as an excuse. You're always working as an actor. Either you're auditioning. You should always be working. Either you're auditioning or you're in performance, preparing and doing the work itself, or you're self-generating your own work. And those are the three. So if that's what you set up for yourself, you are always working. Do you have a website? Do you have a killer reel? Have you shot your short film with your buddies or whatever? Have you written your full-length script in case they like the short film version of it and they want to give you, $300,000 to shoot the feature? Like these are the things you need to do. Have you started a Kickstarter campaign for the movie that you really feel will resonate with an audience? Do all that and then say, you got nothing to do.
Right. One thing I find fascinating about your career, because ever since we met 5 years ago, you've popped, ever since I met you, then you started coming up in things I watch all the time. I'm like, oh, there's Adrian. Oh, there's Adrian. There's Adrian.
Yeah.
And you just started popping up. And then I started kind of because I have a lot of actor friends and friends in the business and stuff. So I always like to analyze people's careers and how they do what they do and how they're getting there. It's just something I do. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Because I'm still trying to make it as well doing what I do. So what I noticed that
what
did.
What do you do?
Man, I don't know. I torture actors at workshops in Santa Fe.
I know what kind of movies you like, if you know what I'm saying.
No, it's not true.
But what do you do?
Well, sir, I am a director, an independent filmmaker and director. I've been in post-production for about 20 years. So that's where I kind of make my bones. That's where I make my money.
Nice.
And then I direct music videos, commercials, and then I do my own projects, short films, and things like that. And then I'm always looking for that feature. And I'm this year coming up. I'm going to be hopefully making my first feature film. Just like you said, bootstrapping it myself, doing it myself, with more resources than most people have at their disposal between connections, post, knowledge, cameras, all the stuff I have. There's no excuse anymore.
I like the role of the chubby Latina you have in that. I thought that's the one role that can really make.
Do you know someone?
Movie.
Do you know someone?
I can.
Do you know Luis Guzman? Do you know Luis? If you can connect me to Luis Guzman, that would be awesome.
He's booked for the next 5 years, but I do know someone else.
Well, what I was saying about your career specifically is a lot of actors always are like trying to, I don't know, they're trying to be someone they're not. They're trying to be the next this or the next that. And what I've noticed from studying you, at least from this point of view, is that you've been you. You're Adrian Martinez. There is no other Adrian Martinez out there. And that's what's made you successful.
I think we're all relieved about that.
But the thing is that there is no one else like you out there. I've never seen there's another Adrian Martinez type. No, there isn't. There is only one Adrian Martinez. And by doing what you've done and like doubling down and tripling down on who you are, you've been able to make a successful career doing it and reaching heights that a lot of actors don't do. Where a lot of actors I've seen and I've worked with, they're like, oh, I want to be this next Tom Cruise, or I want to be the next this or that. And I'm like, look, that's great. And you know how many, like out here, how many actors, like all the leading men actors and all this kind of stuff, they all try to go after the big, and like, look, just be yourself, and if you happen to be Tom Cruise, great. If you happen to be Will Smith, great. Yeah. But if you're who you are, like I know I did a great interview with Yancey Arias, and I think, do you know Yancey?
Yes. Great actor.
I love Yancey, and Yancey he's one of those, like you, he's one of those workhorses guys, like just been pounding it for years. And Yancey and I have worked on a lot of projects together. He's a good friend of mine, and I said the same thing to him. I'm like, Yancey, you just do you. Like, that's who you are. You're not trying to be anybody else. And I think that's the best advice you can give anybody in this business or in any business in general, but in the film business, as a director, as a writer, as this or that. Just do you. And I think you quoted, I think in an interview once, you quoted about no one's going to tell a better story or the truth about you better than you, or something along those lines.
Well, yeah. I mean, the most absolutely, sexy, seductive thing is a person that's completely confident in themselves, and they're able to trust who they are, to the nth degree. And they bring that into an audition, completely trusting who they are. There's nothing more magnetic than that. Mm-hmm. The second they see you try to be someone else, they smell it.
Yep.
It just pops in the room, and it's like someone just farted. And it's just like, no. We've been there and done that. Yeah, it's the person that is completely comfortable with who they are, like a Will Smith, like a Ben Stiller, like a Yancey Arias, who is a terrific actor. These guys just trust who they are, and to a level that is just
Oh yeah.
just completely, fantastic. And that's what's so magnetic. That's why we go to the movies and we see these stars in performance. And I think subconsciously, we want to be them on some level,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
saving people's lives or getting the girl or
Yeah.
getting the guy or getting, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, but it's all, it starts, the genesis is a complete embracing of who they are as an individual. That's how it all begins.
Yeah, like someone like The Rock, who is The Rock, and that's who
He's the Rock, man.
He's The Rock. And he is
Yeah.
so charismatic because he is who he is. And he tried being somebody else when he first started in the WWF, and it failed miserably. People smelled it, like you said.
Like Will Smith. He's intelligent.
Oh.
He's charismatic. He's funny. Offset. And then when he works, it's the same skill set and the same essence of person that he is that translates into these fantastic performances. And you have to see him in Concussion.
Oh, I know. I can't wait to see that. It looks amazing.
But yeah, so that's what it is. It's about an absolute faith and trust in who you are as an individual. And then you add on the idiosyncratic behavior of the character,
Right.
or the mannerisms, or the whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like Johnny Depp in Black Mass. Johnny Depp was Johnny Depp. He can be a very brooding, soulful actor, like in Donnie Brasco.
Right.
But then he adds on the mannerisms and the look and the whatever of the character in Black Mass, and so that's how you do it, man.
It's like, well, like I think in today's generation, as far as directors are concerned, I mean, the directors that people really love to go see are people who just know who they are and love, and they have their style, and they don't even try to be anybody else. And I think one of the best examples of that is Tarantino. Like, he doesn't care. Like, I'm gonna make my movie. I'm gonna say whatever the hell I want to say, and this is who I am, and that's it. But that confidence as a filmmaker is so rare. Like, I was watching last year, I saw Birdman, and I was like,
I love that movie.
And I watched Birdman, and I go, oh, that's what a director does. Again, you forget after you watch all of this big Hollywood stuff that just keeps popping out. It's just the same old recycled crap from the 80s and the 90s at this point.
I would have to say Inari 2 is like the guy I would love to work with. I mean, I just saw The Revenant, and
I'm dying to see that. Is it good?
Once again, yeah, it's fantastic. And it's so brutally honest. Like, every scene is just so brutally honest. And the performances is so great. Tom Hardy, DiCaprio.
Yeah.
I play the bear in that, by the way. I don't know if anyone knows that.
It was not on your IMDb. You got to get your agent on that.
Yeah, well, yeah. We went back and forth. We're working out an uncredited situation. But the movie is just like, even the bear was good. I mean,
the CG bear was fantastic.
But yeah, once again, we're talking about a vision that's unique, that he completely trusts, and he just does it, man. And it's just, that's it. And nobody tells him how to do his movies, and he just does them.
Right. And now he's at a point we could do whatever he wants.
Yeah. And now he can do whatever he wants, yeah.
Now, you as an actor, you're able to do something that a lot of actors don't do easily, is transition between comedy and drama. And you do it with such ease sometimes it's remarkable to watch. Because I've seen you in some stuff that is just drop down on the floor crying that's so funny. And then you've done some amazing dramatic stuff as well. Can you give any advice to actors about how you're able to do that? Because that's something that's a very unique skill set.
Yeah, I mean, basically you still have to approach every role the same initially, but for comedy, you have to keep in mind the tone of it and sort of like the back of your head. But you don't play the comedy. You play the given circumstances of the scene. You play your connection with the other character in the scene. And you play the truth of the moment, absolutely. The comedy just sort of, it's like in the back of your mind, it's layered in. But the different forms of comedy, there's satire, and there's more of there's sort of like the dramedy that we see a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, stick to the truth of the scene, be absolutely real and genuine and committed, no matter what it is, and let the tone of the piece keep it in the back of your mind, but don't play it. Play the truth of the scene and the truth of the moment, and just let it be like that.
Now, this question is it's a large question, so let me see if you can answer it and the best you can. What makes a good actor? We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
You believe him, or you believe her. I mean, it's absolutely about the suspension of disbelief. Like, you watch a performance and you don't really think, "Oh, that's acting."
Kind of like when Meryl Streep works.
Yeah, I mean, you just believe this. The Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought to myself initially, "Wow, look at Brando. He looks funny. His jaws look inflated or something."
Mm-hmm.
But right around the start of the second act, I completely forgot it was Brando. I was watching someone else.
Right.
Like it was a transformation to me and I really believed him to be this omnipotent, powerful man that could kill people like that, but was also, a human being that loved his sons.
Right.
I mean, that's fine art. There are a lot of actors that do that. I think working today, I mean, I would have to go with Daniel Day-Lewis as the one that's able to just completely transform without losing himself. Like, I think his soul, his intelligence, his spirit is in every performance. That's sort of like the building block of the house. Mm-hmm. And then he adds on Lincoln, or he adds on, the Gangs of New York character.
The Butcher,
Yeah. I mean, but the essence is still him. But it's the ability to see a performance and really believe it and just sort of go with it and forget that it's a performance. That to me is great acting.
Now, just on the Daniel Day-Lewis thing, for the kids in the audience, go Google Daniel Day-Lewis and Google a movie called My Left Foot.
Oh yeah.
And that was the first time I was working in a video store back then, and I saw Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot, and I had no idea who he was. Nobody knew really. He was still coming up at that point. And I remember watching it and going, "Oh my God, I can't believe they found a guy who has this issue to be able to play this part. That's remarkable." And when I saw him stand up and accept the Oscar, my mouth was on the floor. That's where I was. Yeah. I was and at that since that day, I was like, "Wow, that's acting." And I got what acting was at that point in the game. Like, you completely had no idea that man was not, did not have the issues that I forgot the character's name, but the character had. Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And then Meryl Streep, I mean, that's why she gets nominated every year, because every time she does anything, she kind of does that. It's remarkable. It's and I was listening to I like
that joke when Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were at the Golden Globes.
Oh, which one?
And they said Meryl Streep couldn't be here tonight. She has the flu, and she's amazing.
Oh, that's
she totally killed the flu.
That's brilliant. No, I did an interview with Robert Forster a while ago when I had the pleasure of working with him, and he told me Quentin's best direction to him was he would stand right before the scene. He goes, "Just make me believe it," and that was it. That was his direction, and he'd say it often on set. Yeah. And that's true. That's the job of the actors, to make the audience believe it. So now I know you've been in the business for a few years now. 5 years at least.
About 5, yeah.
About 5 years. And you've gone through a few auditions in your day. A couple, I'm sure. Can you please give any advice to actors about how they should handle the sometimes brutal auditioning process?
Well, I think the main thing is to stay on an even keel about it all. Like whether it's an audition or just the business in general, you just have to understand that there are going to be times you get good news. Don't get too excited.
Right.
Take pride, but don't get crazy. There are going to be times you're going to get bad news. Don't get all depressed. Try to stay in an even place because that's where you're going to have to sustain yourself. It's that even place where you're going to live most of the time. The business will come and the business will go. You're going to work, you're not going to work. But you have to be able to keep yourself and fill out your life with the people you love and go to a museum and just really fill out your days, not obsessing about the work because the work comes and goes. As for the audition, I really feel you have to know your lines as best as possible, be absolutely prepared. Don't go in trying to shake hands and give out cookies. That's not going to work. If they offer you a handshake, yeah, of course, you shake their hand. Um, Sit down or stand up. Give yourself a moment to take a sort of deep breath and reconnect with yourself as a person. Just give yourself that beat.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they want to just like plow through all that. You have a right to say, sorry, I just need a moment. I'm
Right.
not even sorry. Excuse me, I just need a moment. And just take that deep breath, rechannel your energy, go. And that has, because sometimes you get caught up into giving them your power, like, oh, all right, we got to start right away. No,
Just
I
do
like to
you.
do this. Yeah, I like to stand. I don't want to say it. You have a right to set the room for yourself. You have a right to take your time with the piece, and you have a right to do it as you feel you need to do it. And then, if the director's in the room, likes you, he'll ask you to do it a different way.
Right.
Because he wants to know that if on the day that you'll be able to take direction, because things change on set. So he wants to know if you can go with the flow. So if they ask you to do it a different way, that doesn't mean they didn't like the first take. It means they did like the first take. Another direction in case that becomes a necessity later on. Uh, in TV, for example, scripts are written and rewritten while you're actually filming. So
Right. Yeah. Now, what?
So
Yeah.
are you?
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between film and television because you've done so much of both?
Yeah. Well, film is I don't know. It depends on what kind of movies too. Like independent movies, you can improvise a lot in independent movies. You can improvise in feature films. A lot of what I did in the movie Focus was improvised.
Mm-hmm.
I had directors that really respected me and trusted me and knew how demented I was. So they were like,
You are, sir.
if you want to say stuff, that you think is funny, go ahead and say it. TV, that's not going to happen because TV goes through an advertiser, it goes through standards and practices, it goes through all these different levels of censorship and copyrights and all this. So what's written is what you're going to say. So you have to be willing to understand that and just make it your own as best as possible. Um, so that's one difference, I think. Time is different. Like time in TV, when you're filming television, it just goes by a lot faster. They're basically making a short film every 8 days if you're on a TV series. So every 8 days, they have to cast it, set up the locations, produce it, shoot it, and do the post production for like one episode of The Good Wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so given that world, they have to shoot fast. So you're gonna get like one or two takes tops. And then if you're like the guest star, it's interesting how it works. They'll do a master shot, and they really like you. If they like what they're seeing, they'll take the time to add in a close up of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the highest compliment. Like that's when they say like, let's move in on Adrian for a single, that means they feel they've got the goods and they are going to spend the time and the money, and it's a lot of money to ask these professional cameramen to move in on your face and capture you in this way on a single close-up.
That's
If
interesting.
they're not crazy about you, they'll stay with the master and they'll move on. Or they'll do like maybe a 3-shot.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Just to kind of like, but the highest compliment you can get on a TV set, because it's so expensive, is when the director says, let's get a close-up of Adrian, let's get a close-up of Alex. Because that means they really feel they got the chops. And you got the chops and they want to see it more.
Definitely, let's not get the close up on Alex, please.
Yeah, all right.
Please, no close ups on Alex. I'm behind the
back.
Let's pull back. Yes, pull back to the wide, guys, please.
How about Cleveland?
So, another thing, I'm a director, so I've worked with actors a lot, and I asked this question as well, and I wanted to ask you, are acting classes needed for an actor to become an actor?
I feel like it's one of those things where it can be helpful if you have the right teacher. You should have a basic craft. You should know how to break down a script. And Uta Hagen was certainly a wonderful teacher, and her book Respect for Acting is very helpful. And it's good to go to classes if you feel like you just need to be in front of people and just work it. It's important to do that, but don't get too, attached to acting classes. Like, there's a lot of people I've known over the years that are like, yeah, I'm an actor. Oh yeah. What are you working on? Oh, I'm doing the Seagull. Oh yeah, where are you doing the Seagull? Oh, HB Studio at downtown.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're doing scene set? Yeah, I'm doing a scene. Okay. And then you like 2 years go by, 4 years go by, 6 years. What are you doing? I'm waiting for Godot. Oh, yeah, where are you doing that? Oh, at HB Studio. Like,
right.
I know people that they love the safety net that an acting class provides. And so they're afraid to break out of that. I've met people like that over the years. So do it, but don't get married to it. Just remember, you want to be a professional at work, and make a living at it, and that's not going to happen in a class. So, but I think if you're starting out, it's good. I think if you haven't worked in a while and you just want to get back in shape, it's good. Just don't get too attached, because it can become
a blankie.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term. Yeah, I completely understand. Trust me, I understand that completely. Now, one thing I know, and actors get this more than anything, and I think it's brutal. And anytime I'm in directing, I always feel for the actors. How do you handle rejection? Because it's so much and so often. How do you handle it?
Yeah, well, it goes back to staying on that even keel. I mean, and understanding that it's not about you. You have to see yourself as like like a car that they're trying to sell.
Right.
And so we need a Honda, okay? And you might be a Ferrari.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And so Ferrari's great. Ferraris are amazing, but we need a Honda.
Yeah. A Ferrari is never going to be a Honda.
No,
never.
No.
Right.
Or vice versa. We need a Ferrari, and you're a Honda. You just are. So you can be great in the audition. You can be prepared and focused and wonderful, but you're not going to get it because they just need that Ferrari.
Right.
And that's fine. But it's really important, though, to take pride in your work at the audition. It's really important that the universe sees that you're prepared and you're doing the work. So that when you leave that audition, you can say, you know what, whatever happens, I don't care. I nailed it. And I nailed it. And you can let it go. There's a great scene in the movie that Gene Hackman did called Hoosiers,
Oh yeah, great movie.
where he's talking to the team and it's before the big game. He's like, listen, focus on your fundamentals, really nail this. And no matter what happens, I don't care what the score says, you're winners in my book.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing for this, like you go in and you nail it, and then you just got to release it.
Right.
Because otherwise it's just going to drive you crazy.
Well, that's one thing that Yancey actually said something similar in the sense that you go in and no matter what the audition is, you do the best you can because you never know what comes down the line. This might not be the right project for this director and you, but the next one might. And they
that
might
just happened to me too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, that just happened to me. I auditioned for a TV show for a series regular. I forget what it was,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't get it. And I really was good. Like I really gave it everything I had,
Mm-hmm.
and it smelled really good. I thought I was right for it. And then I found out that they wanted someone who looked more Dominican, more dark skinned, and all this,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny because I'm part Dominican. So,
Of course.
so
Can you be more Dominican?
yeah. But I'm kind of like fair skinned, so I guess in their mind they just thought we need someone darker skinned. So
Mm-hmm.
that's their perception of Dominicans. So, and 2 months later, I got an offer, like a straight offer for a pilot. And when I did the research, it was the same director that I had auditioned for that TV show.
And he remembered you.
So he kept my good performance at the audition in mind, and then when something more appropriate came up, he just made me the offer to do it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he talked about it. I worked on it. We shot it. He talked about how cool I was at that audition, and that he's glad to finally work with me. So you got to go in there prepared and kill it no matter what, because you never know how things are going to play out.
Exactly. You never, and I've known that. God, I mean, look at this. I mean, I've met so many people during that Now Leap, those Now Leap workshops I did 3 or 4 years ago, and those connections and people, the relationships you've made, it's amazing how they 5-7 years later you connect with people again. You're like, all because of that. And if I was a complete ass to you during that time, I would have not been able to have you on the show. So and something as simple as being nice to somebody, you never know, and then you never know how that relationship can grow and grow and grow. Like me and Yancey, we met, we did a little something, and then it kind of grew into a friendship. It's just the way things is, which is a perfect segue into my next question about networking. How do you network as an actor in Hollywood, and how important is it to you for you in your career as far as networking with other actors, producers, directors? Any advice?
Well, I have to say, one of the big modern skills is social media, because
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of casting directors on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to a movie and you like the movie, just take note of who the casting director is, and take note of who the casting director associates are and assistants are, and jot down their names and friend them on Facebook, and just say, hey, I thought you did a great job with the movie Sisters. Please keep me in mind for whatever. They can friend you or they could not friend you.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
if they friend you, then you can, when you're in a movie or something, you can send them a link. You can send them your reel, and they'll see it. I've gotten work from people that, saw me on Facebook or are casting people in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And they've connected to me. That did not happen. That was not the case 10 years ago.
So then, basically, what you shouldn't do is just the second you message them, just ask them for something right away.
Yeah,
which is what a lot of people do. Like you were saying, people just call you up and like, I want you to be in my part. I'm like, who are you? You have to build a relationship, even socially.
You have to build a relationship, yeah, and be respectful. Now, a lot of times, like I friend casting people that I know, that I've worked with,
Mhm.
and I didn't know they were on Facebook.
Right.
Like Jen Houston, she's amazing. She casts girls, and she casts Orange Is the New Black,
Great show.
and she's, I've booked several projects with her office,
Mhm.
So at that point, I had a relationship with her, and then I saw her on Facebook, and I friended her, and she accepted it because she knows me. And then, I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm in the movie Focus," and I invited her to the premiere. So you can do that, because
Mhm.
they know you. If you don't know the casting person,
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I think it's fair once they put out they're on social media. I think it's fair to say, listen, I understand I don't know your work. I haven't worked with you. I haven't got into, but I saw your casting in, the movie, you know, Spider-Man, and I thought you did a great job with that. Here's my link if you ever get the time to check it out, and just leave it like that.
Mhm.
And then just leave it like that. I mean, like really leave it like that. Don't
Right.
make them block you because you kept writing and never got a response.
Right. Drop seeds. Drop seeds and see if anything
Plant a
flourishes.
seed, see what happens.
Float some balloons.
Yeah.
So, now, how do you prepare for a part as an actor? I always find this part fascinating.
I don't know. I have an unusual approach.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I look at the script and I really try to bring a unique spin on the character. Like I always try to find the humor, absolutely, because I think even the most cruel people can be funny. Um, I remember Forrest Whitaker. He played that dictator.
Oh yeah.
He won
Last
the
Man of
Oscar.
Scotland. Last Man of Scotland. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic in that. But when you look at, he's a charming guy. You
Mhm.
know, he was funny in that movie. He was charming. He was filled with light. But
Mhm.
at the same time, there was all this
Murder.
power and destruction going on.
Sure.
So that's important, is to find the humor. And then I always try to come up with like a physicality that I think represents the character. I did a movie called "It's Kind of a Funny Story" with
Mhm.
Zach Galifianakis and Viola Davis.
Mhm.
And if you see that movie, like I'm always like combing my hair or fiddling with my hair, and it's not something overt. But to me, like that character who was in this adult group home where people haven't seen it, and he's kind of like has some mental illness. To me, his look, the character's look, and how he was always obsessed with his hair, was a way into the character. So if you see the movie, you'll see me always like tapping my hair or combing my hair or like just checking on it. And I did a movie called Casa de mi Padre,
Yeah, it's a
where
great
where
film. It's so funny.
I I used an avocado for that. Like to me, this guy was either always trying to share an avocado or always eating an avocado.
And that was
Like,
something you brought to the table.
it was, yeah, and I had to fight for it because the writer was like, "Well, it's not in the script."
All right.
Like I was like, "Yeah, no, it's not in the script, but this is just my way of bringing something into it
Mhm.
that expands on the role."
Right.
And
That's
'cause
funny.
I mean, I just feel like you have to bring something that's unique to the role. And so when I go through the script, based on what I read, I try to come up with something that I think expands on the role, and it's just sort of interesting, an interesting spin on it. And then if the directors are okay with it, I'll add some dialogue, either at the top of a speech or at the bottom of the speech,
Mhm.
that I think will make it funnier or more moving or whatever. But make sure, please don't write to me, and make sure the director is cool with that.
Right.
And usually in movies they are like they'll say like, yeah, we'll do it one way scripted, and then we'll just do one way. We get to play around.
Right.
When they play around, be prepared and have your ideas, at the ready, but make sure they work. Make sure the ideas work,
and also that they're open to it, and they're open to it. Like with with Robin Williams, that's all they did. They just like, okay, they scheduled in his improv.
Yeah. Like there's a line in the movie Focus where I say, I'm accusing Margot Robbie of being a lesbian,
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And I say,
every time you speak, all I smell is vagina or something like that.
Yeah. And so, that made the cut because A, the directors were open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And B, Margot Robbie did not break character. If she starts laughing and stops the take, then that's it. It's not in the movie. But the fact that she stayed in character saved my ass. And that's a tribute to her professionalism that she just went with it.
That's brilliant. And I saw that scene. I remember I saw the movie. It was funny as hell. You did the whole Scarface tongue thing, which was nice.
Well, yeah, that's my little homage to
you know what the women love, man. Anyway, so you obviously been you've had an amazing acting career so far. Now you're getting into directing and producing as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you absolutely like what I said before about self-generating work, because I'm definitely a character actor. I've been the sidekick to a lot of stars.
Mm-hmm.
There does come a point where you want to also be able to say what you feel is important,
Mm-hmm.
Not just be a plot device for someone else's ideas. And so to that end, I've written a few scripts that I'm going to get off the ground next year. And I'm really excited about it because it's a chance to really lay claim to an idea and from start to finish.
And you're working on some, you've done some micro shorts, like improvisational shorts?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I really hope people do is like, just grab your buddy and just start shooting something and put it on YouTube. Like there's a guy I worked with on Walter Mitty called Alex Anfanger.
Mm-hmm.
Alex is a good guy. He's like, I don't know, he's like 25 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a bunch of shorts that he did. And Ben Stiller's company caught wind of it. And now he's doing big time in Hollywood for Comedy Central.
Nice. And
he's, the exec producer and the creator of it. And he's on his way, So it can happen. It can happen,
So one thing I've noticed doing Indie Film Hustle, and this is something I've never had done. I'm consistently doing work. I'm consistently putting out content, meeting new people, and the blog is it's almost forced me to, because I have a schedule that I keep every. I do two a podcast every week, and I do a blog post every week, and I'm constantly working towards putting out good content, and that everyday thing, like you have to keep showing up. You have to keep. Like Woody Allen says, half of, 90% of success is just showing up or something along those lines. By doing that consistently, all of a sudden you look back and you're like, oh, I got 40 episodes of a podcast. Oh, look, I've got, 40 article posts all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you look back and like, oh, I'm on my 100th episode. And then that's what you start doing. And a lot of these guys who've made it in YouTube, that's what they do. They just show up every day. And they just post every week or every other day or whatever their schedule is. And then all of a sudden they have this breadth of product out there. And people take notice.
They do. And it's interesting because we live in an age where like the smartphone has everything immediately. If
Correct.
You want a restaurant, immediately you will get it. If you want, a store, immediately you'll get it. Something on Google,
Mm-hmm.
But a career requires a great deal of perseverance and patience.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to hear that. Like right now,
Like you said,
Half your listeners just changed the channel because they didn't want to hear that.
but like you said when we first started, before we got on it, it's like, oh, great, we're gonna get the depressed people for the holidays. We're recording this during the holidays, but it'll probably be released later in the year. But yeah, it's true. It's true. It's sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow.
And you have to be open to that. You have to understand that it really is a marathon, and you got to pace yourself and keep going. You're going to hit walls. There'll be times you don't want to do it anymore,
Oh yeah.
and that's okay. And there'll be times when you feel like empowered and you want to take on the world. So it's definitely, it's not for everyone. You'll have to put in the time. Like I said, at least 10 years. But if you're ready to fight the fight, if you feel like you have no other choice,
Yeah.
then I wish you well.
Now, you've worked with some amazing directors, Adrian. What do you look for in a director? We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I want to feel safe on set. I don't want to feel like if I make a mistake that I'm going to be yelled at. I don't want to feel like what I bring to the set doesn't matter. I'm a unique person, and I want a director that gets who I am and is willing to work with me based on who I am in a safe atmosphere. You're there to fulfill the director's vision, but I still feel it should be a collaboration. I mean, he hired you,
Right.
she hired you, and you're there to fulfill the vision. But obviously, they should be open and receptive to who you are and to what your talents are, because each actor brings a different set of skills. And I think it's the smart director that's open to that and understands that and says, yeah, let's see what you got. And if it works, it works.
That's you're not the first actor that I've spoken to who said that. That's, I think, the number one thing that a lot of Robert Forster said the same thing. And he actually said too, he's like, and someone also knows what they want is another big thing. He's like, it's just someone who knows when the take is good and I don't have to sit there and do it 40 times.
Yeah, exactly.
So are there any pitfalls that you can give actors advice on in the business? Like any pitfalls in the business that you can give them warnings about?
Warnings. Gee, I don't know. There are people who are not well in the business.
That is the best way I've ever heard anyone put it. There's people who are not well in the business. That's great.
So when you're on set, be prepared. Sometimes people will be inappropriate. Sometimes will be unprofessional. And you have to decide for yourself what you're going to put up with and what you're not going to put up with. And know that going in.
Right.
If you're a woman, and you're on set and someone tries, or even if you're a man, and someone tries to exploit you or in some way be inappropriate, you have a right to walk away.
Right.
And you have a right to go to the first AD and say something. Just make sure that you understand what your power is, and your power, you have a right to defend yourself and protect yourself and not be in an unsafe situation under any circumstances. No job is so important that it means you degrade yourself to get the job done. So keep that in mind. Keep your dignity no matter what.
That's great advice.
The rules have changed. It used to be like, in terms of money, like they would fly you out to be a recurring role. Now there's a lot of local hires. So if you're an LA actor and you want to work in New York on Orange is the New Black, you're probably going to do it for scale. Then they're not going to fly you out, and you need to understand that, that's how it is. And you have to decide, well, do I still want to do it?
Hmm.
Same thing in reverse. I got offered a recurring on some TV show. It was in LA. They wanted me to be an LA local hire, even though I live in New York. And I did the math and I said, no, I'm not going to do it. They should fly me out and put me up.
Right.
So that one didn't work out. But you take each one differently. Like there was another case where I would be an LA local hire because it was a favor for a friend, and
Hmm.
and I thought the role was special enough. So just know that sometimes you're going to have to spend to earn.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Now, this is one of I got a couple more questions left, Adrian. What is the lesson that took you the longest to learn? In film business or in life?
Oh my God. Paging Oprah. Let's see. Say that again.
So what is the lesson in life or in the film business that has took you the longest to learn? In other words, you might have beat your head against the wall a couple times until finally like, oh, this is why this is happening. Oh, this is what I should do.
Great question, Alex. I would have to go with I am enough.
Wow, what a great answer. I am enough.
You can spend so much time like worried about your weight, your height, your skin tone. You can spend so much time worried about so many things. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to trusting and accepting who you are as you are today in this given moment. And it is a gift that the world receives it. You're doing the world a favor letting that out. They're not doing you a favor. I mean, the light that you were born with is the light that they want to see at auditions and in performances. You were born with that light, and you don't need anyone else to filter it or change it. That's it. You were born with it. So just trust it and shine.
There's like 5 t-shirts in that entire answer. That's awesome. That's some words to live by, my friend. That's wonderful, man. Really, really great answer to that. So these are the last 2 questions are the most fun questions, but also arguably one of I ask this of all of my guests.
Right.
Which is the one most underrated film you've ever seen? And then what are your top 3 favorite films of all time?
I'll take the second with favorite films, Godfathers, The Godfather 1 and 2,
Uh-huh.
The Shawshank Redemption,
Oh, man after my own heart.
and The Deer Hunter.
Okay.
Of course, it's very hard to answer that.
No, of course.
We're talking sci-fi.
Yeah, of course,
Then
of course.
Then it's, of course, Blade Runner. We're talking fantasy. And there was, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, you can go crazy.
Right.
A movie that's underrated is a movie called people need to see The Elephant Man, starring
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, sure.
And John Hurt as the Elephant Man. David Lynch. It was his first movie.
Yep.
And it's just really a fantastic movie that you should catch on Netflix or wherever it is these days. It'll break your heart. And to me, that's one thing I want to make sure your audience understands is you should always really think of the character's pain. Every character has a great pain in his life, and that's from John Casa, who was an actor. He did 5 movies, all got Oscar nominated, and he was Fredo in The Godfather. He was in Dog Day Afternoon. Mm-hmm. Fantastic actor. And he used to talk about how every character has a pain that, and from that pain, you can build your performance. Because when you think about it, we're all motivated by avoiding pain or we're in pain. So that's a great thing to hold on to. But yeah, I would go with The Elephant Man. You can really feel the emotional power of the performances in that. But there's so many.
No, of course, there's millions, hundreds of thousands of them. But yeah, now where can people find you and find out more about you? We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
I'll give you all my address. I'm at no.
my home address is 1152.
My Twitter is Taste of Adrian.
Brilliant name, by the way. I love that handle. That's great.
Also Instagram is Taste of Adrian, and then I'm on Facebook. Friend me. I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
And then do you have a website?
AdrianMartinez.net.
And do you have a YouTube at all or no?
No, but now that you mentioned that, I think I'll make one.
I'm glad I could help, sir. Adrian, man, thank you so much for taking out the time, man. This has been an eye-opening interview, man. It's been wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Alex. And don't take another around 5 years to talk to me.
Okay, man. As I told you, it was a very entertaining and informative interview, guys. Adrian really answered that question the best I've ever heard anyone ask. What is the longest thing? What's the lesson it took you the longest to learn? And that is, you're enough. And that is something that I want to say to you guys is you're enough. You guys are enough to do whatever you're trying to do. Be you. Do you. Because that is the secret to your success. If you're honest with who you are as an artist, whether you're an actor, director, writer, whoever, those are the people who make it. Those are the people who make a living doing what they love to do. So if that's a lesson that we can learn from Adrian, it was well worth having him on the show. And just so you guys know that Adrian is making his directorial debut with his new movie, I Creep. And you can check out more information about I Creep at his website at adrianmartinez.net. I'd like to thank again Adrian for taking the time out to be on the show, and good luck to your new movie, Adrian. All the Indie Film Hustle tribe is rooting for you, man. Thanks again. Now, an update on This Is Meg. We are working on our crowdfunding video right now. We're getting everything ready for the campaign. We're looking to launch in mid-June, either the 14th or the 21st of June to launch, and it'll be running for 30 days. I will let you guys know what's going on and give you all the skinny of what I'm learning, because I'm working really closely with seedandspark.com, and they're giving me all the ins and outs of what makes a good campaign and what doesn't. I've never crowdfunded before, really. So this is an experience for me, and I want to share that experience with you guys so you guys really understand what it takes to get a movie like this made, this kind of micro budget movie. So I'll keep giving you updates to what's going on with Meg. And again, if you want to sign on for any of the stuff I talked about earlier in the episode, you could just go to the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/077. Thanks again for all the support, guys. As always, head over to filmmakingpodcast.com and leave us an honest review of the show. It helps us out tremendously, guys. And if you want to be part of the Indie Film Hustle community, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/Facebook to sign up for our private Facebook group where all of us indie film hustlers talk, post about each other's works, ask questions, connect. It's a really cool community, and we're getting close to 5,000 members of that group. So definitely check that out, indiefilmhustle.com/Facebook. As always, keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.